Podcast, the podcast that exists for the creatively unhinged. As per usual, we're coming at you from the ever-loving, temperature-rising nightmare that is the Grand Canyon State. And I'm over here just wishing for a trip to Jamaica. And Will, you're dressed like you're ready for a trip to Jamaica or the Bahamas, or
This is funny. I actually wore this shirt. It's from Cartagena, Colombia, which is off the Caribbean, and it's very nice. Yeah, I was there. This episode's sponsored by Spindrift. I'm just gonna be a whore and try to use different beverages every episode.
Yeah, we'll just get Spindrift in here. Hey, yeah, we get that Spindrift money. Hey, bring back Blood Orange. I think they discontinued Blood Orange.
That was a good one.
That was my favorite. So if you can bring back Blood Orange, that would be lovely. Yeah, man, you've always had this weird. I wouldn't say it's weird. It's actually kind of cool in the lighting. You've got. Do you remember the show Burn Notice from back in the early 2000s?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't really watch it.
Okay.
But I did.
So, but you're aware of Burn Notice, like the big
I'm
Bruce
aware.
Campbell and all of his different Hawaiian shirts. He always has this saying about a good Hawaiian or floral pattern shirt. He says the design for the best floral pattern shirt has to go across the buttons. Does yours go across the buttons, or does it stop?
Let me see. That's a good. It
It
does.
does.
It goes
So
across the
okay,
buttons.
so that's good.
I didn't think about
That's
that.
good. He always said that's the best floral design, is it has to go across the buttons, because if it doesn't and it stops right there, then it's trying to turn around and go right the fuck back to wherever it came from. So I've always thought that's the wise words to live by Mr. Bruce Campbell. By the way, I mentioning Bruce Campbell, you're a big reader. I should.
I am a
You
reader.
need to. There's two books specifically that I would recommend you picking up.
Okay.
I don't know. You probably have to order these now. Hell to the Chin, which is absolutely phenomenal. It kind of dives into Bruce and Sam Raimi's whole stardom to get to where they are now. But there's also a book called Make Love the Bruce Campbell Way. And I think that
I've heard of that.
Yeah, I think you would absolutely adore those books. I actually have Hell to the Chin. I could probably let you borrow that one, but I don't have the other one. Never could find it. But anyway, I digress. Today on the Punch and Koalas podcast, we are going to be talking a little bit about the creative process of our ongoing mini project known as Vinny and Hal. That's it's universally named different things. We always typically name it such and such sentence followed by Hal, because Hal is our he's, I guess, the voice of reason, and 99.9% of these escapades that these two hitmen get in trouble with. Yeah, just a little bit about the unhinged aspect, where we get our inspiration from, how these ideas come to fruition. The whole thing, the whole 9 yards. Anything you'd like to add to that, my good sir?
I mean, I think so. From what I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, we kind of came. Oh, there's a little bit of a lag.
Oh yeah.
today.
There is a little bit of delag.
But
I apologize for that.
It's not your fault. But I remember Vinny and Hal kind of came up as, I wouldn't say we were in a rut during filming, but I think there was just kind of a dearth of schedules. It's one of those things, as we work on these different projects, where we couldn't get everybody to get onto the same schedule because we have so many actors involved in some of our other projects that you're working on. And so, kind of as a fun thing, we agreed to do a short, and it was your idea originally about how funny would it be if it's just two guys kind of arguing about what happens when a waitress puts a smiley face on a receipt. And I think a lot of men have been in that situation. I myself have been in that situation. I'm like, oh, she wants to fuck me, clearly. Because she wrote, why would she fucking do that? Why would you leave me on, you crazy bitch? So as you can see, the thoughts start to get progressively more unhinged as you go along with it, the theme of the podcast. And we felt that it would be kind of a unique thing to play around, play pretend with these characters. Part of acting is kind of like human dolls in a way. Like, what could we do with them? What could make them funny? And you sent me a file, and then I tried to take a little stab at it. And if the light's changing on my light feature, that's just happening naturally. So I don't know why.
I don't know what's happening.
But either way, it's okay. It's an ever-evolving process. So the situation was we wanted to try this in a diner, and we did. I like the Coffee Hal, right? So that's the I like the Coffee Hal, and honestly, I don't know if we can link it in the show notes or the or if we can link it anywhere. Maybe we do have a YouTube channel coming out, so I'll put a link.
Yeah, we can put it up. We should upload it
when that episode's up. But yeah. The situation though is that we started with that. I like the Coffee Hal, and it was two guys just arguing about this, and then how it escalates into these delusions of grandeur. Right. But it was funny because the chemistry was right with the actor. So I play Vinny, who's more of the spastic one, and we have Fernando Lopez, who plays Hal, who's more of the calm and tranquil, tough guy, but way more relaxed and more cerebral. And so we've made a couple so far, and we've continued to pump out several scripts in waiting for these shorts that we generate. Yeah. And the next one, I think I was fortunate enough that you allowed me to direct and write the second one, which was Now That's a Woman Hal, about these, and they're two hitmen, just to clarify. That gave them the edge for why they do random acts of violence during these shorts. These two hitmen are now in negotiations with a 1980s influencer. So that, I mean, it's so interesting, the process, because in the making of these things, and Chad, you can opine on this a bit too, like, reality is so much stranger than fiction. We will have an idea, and then 2 months later, the thing that we thought about completely happens. Yeah. To a greater degree than we could have anticipated, so that we couldn't even write it in time.
Yeah, honestly, man, I could say the same thing about the bigger project that we're working on too, Diary of a Body Snatcher. We've had very similar. It's almost eerie at how life has been imitating art sometimes, and it's happened a lot with Vinny and Hal, but I think it mainly stems from where we get a lot of our influence from, because me and you are always sending these. I wouldn't even say they're memes. Sometimes it's just these videos of these individuals that we see online, like the snake handlers, right? Like, you see these guys and you're like, man, what kind of like it takes a certain type of person to work that profession. And it's like, well, what if? And then that's when the gears kind of always start turning. And I know it's such a simple process, but that's how we get sometimes to where Vinny and Hal end up in these situations. It's like, well, what if Vinny and Hal decide to hire, or they get hired by some kind of assassin to get a boom sling snake, and the snake turns on the handler, and stuff like that. It's really kind of, it's funny. It's funny how that stuff just kind of snowballs downhill. It's cool too.
No, I agree 100%. And I think but during this journey, we've kind of discovered subcultures. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, with regards to the sequel to Vinny and Hal, I Like the Coffee Hal, That's a Woman Hal, that was inspired directly by this subculture that you've discovered in the creative writing process, and that I looked into as well, of these girls, for the most part, that dress up and act and post as if they're living in the 1980s. Yeah. And they're literally social media influencers, which honestly I respect more than a typical thirst trap. I mean, sometimes they be thirst trapping, but most of the time they're like just advertising, showing these products or the things on their walls, music. Yeah. It depends upon the person, but diving into this subculture was kind of fun, and then being able to make a short about, well, what happens if one of them was psychotic and then wanted to bump off another influencer that they didn't think was worthy enough? So that's the theme of Vinny and Hal 2, or That's a Woman Hal. And then we have several more in the pipeline, but they're all just surrounding as we go, kind of discovering as we go these different circles or rabbit holes.
Yeah, and to kind of touch base a little bit about the thirst trap element of these 80s influencers. The one that we actually drew inspiration from is Can't Buy Me 80s. You can find her on Instagram. She is a wonderful human being. Jordan Rumsey. Very nice. She has helped us out. She gave us the blessing of not only the short film, but she also read the bigger script that character is part of, that's another thing that we haven't mentioned is Vinny and Hal exist in this weird this universe, this world that we've developed together. You've always called it the Dooleyverse, but we've kind of developed this bubble together with interlinking certain screenplays together, and Vinny and Hal is almost like this strange thread that kind of weaves in and out between screenplays and connects almost everything, which is kind of cool, but it was also unintentional. It just kind of happened that way. So, but now we've made it intentional because, yeah.
Would you say that, yeah, in effect, it's very similar to Jay and Silent Bob in the View Askew universe?
Yeah, oh yeah, very much so.
Pretty much.
Which is funny because here's the thing: I'm a big Kevin Smith fan, but I never did this intentionally. This just organically happened, and that's just kind of funny. So yeah, there's that. I never want people to think that we're ripping off Kevin Smith. But that's not the case at all. It just organically happened this way, and Hal and Vinny they fit in. They just fit in everywhere, and I love the fact that we're always able to think of these ideas, even ideas that maybe we know that they won't work as a big screenplay. They won't work as a 119-page script,
right?
But they damn sure will work as a 10-page script or a 5-page script. I mean, we have outlines, or not. We have 2 finished screenplays that we haven't shot yet for Vinny and Hal, and then we have a few more. We have like 7 or 8 different ideas just flushed out. We could create, if we wanted to, a whole season of a mini series for these 2 guys. It's absolutely wild.
And I think that's kind of the overall goal. I mean, I think from my perspective, because a lot of, and I appreciate the credit there, especially with the writing and being able to have access to these characters. But what made me so intrigued, and again, I would encourage anybody who wants to look those up on YouTube. That's a Woman Hal, or I Like the Coffee Hal. What's so interesting to me about playing Vinny, and where I find it very liberating, and I love playing, and to another extent, we can go into other films that I've played of yours, where I play kind of the unhinged or weird guy, is at the beginning of my acting career, I kind of felt like I was, I guess I'd say typecast to a degree, as the good guy, or because I wear glasses, I've played the professor multiple times. I've been cast as a doctor, businessman, and I mean that's fine. But it felt, those things feel constraining. And I mean, yes, I can act nerdy and borderline autistic for the film, but I'd rather act hyper violent and almost psychotic, because there's this weird creative release in doing that. You can be free to say the most out of pocket shit, and people, no, okay, that's just character. I mean, look at even some of the characters like Gareth, which we can talk about as the main villain of a project we're working on. Gareth, sorry, but like these people are, it's acceptable. People don't care, and it's kind of a release creatively to take that energy and be all the villainous things. I mean, I'm assuming you've played Fallout, the video game.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was a wonderful RPG game. It sucked to be the good guy. It's fun to be the villain and just wipe everybody out, and just, I mean, it was, when you play Grand Theft Auto, you're not obeying any of the rules. You're just mowing bitches down. I mean, it's fun. It's funny. It's the release.
Yeah, I mean, there is something, and the thing is, I feel like people have such a hard time separating fiction from reality nowadays, and I can't figure out why. That's been something that kind of drives me insane, is nobody can separate the two. I mean, it's obvious where you know the line is crossed, but art exists, films exist for people to do these wacky, crazy things that you cannot do in real life.
Right.
Why stifle anyone for doing those things? That's what I can't figure out. Is like why put a blockade up on yourself? I mean, I get it when it comes down to like maybe there's some budget restraint that you can't do. Like, well, we can't, you know, push Vinny out of a fucking plane because we just can't afford it. I get that, but you know, but there's some things that you could do that, you know, people apparently take. I don't know if it's offense or they just don't understand it, and it kind of scares them. You know, one of my favorite things. Good, yeah, it's good. Damn right, it's good. One of my favorite things, and it's kind of a catchphrase that you have created, and I love the fact that this this catchphrase keeps finding its way.
Okay, we can get into
you know
this.
where we're going. It's the equivalent to that. I love the reaction that you get from, again, these unhinged characters and these unhinged moments. and I think it kind of when we were shooting Diary of a Body Snatcher, we kept getting interrupted by like all this stuff that was going on around us, and one of your neighbors at the time was walking like across this complex platform, and you know, you were just trying to be nice. So you're like, hey, how's it going? Or something of that nature. And she didn't say anything. She just kept walking. But she loved to stare. That's the thing. She loved to stare, but she wouldn't interact. So Will, being the gentleman that he is, just turns to the camera. And I still have this on camera. I guess I'll just go fist my own ass then. Ever since that moment, I have locked that fucking catchphrase away in my brain. And I'm like, yes. Yes, this is it. This is the one. Because using it on people, like you said, you don't know how they're gonna react to it. There's so many different reactions. And I've tried it, and 9 times out of 10 the reaction I get is, whoa, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to talk about the origin of it a little bit. It came, so interestingly enough, from the corporate world. I have a friend, Josh, who I used to work with, and you know, him and I used to work in this financial job, but it was almost like a glorified call center type environment, and so that's an interesting environment to sharpen one's will. So he would get off the calls, and you'd have to deal with middle managers and just the tedium and boredom of the corporate sterile existence. And I don't remember what he said, something about, well, I guess I'll just fist myself, right? And I thought, that's funny. Yeah. I think we can make it more visceral, though, because I'm feeling very visceral. Like, 2 days later, something was pissing me off. And I was thinking, fuck, you know, I don't remember I think I said hi to a very nice gentleman who was a coworker of mine named Chuck. And this is a little slightly older, and he didn't hear me. And he was just walking past. I go, hey, Chuck. And I think I did say it then, like, I could just fist my own ass. And I just saw these heads just pop up over the cubicle walls. I was thinking, well, okay, that worked. But it's really something that it expresses frustration. It expresses like a fuck you without saying fuck you. It's so much more eloquent and just like just fisting you. And the visual is there. You could say fuck yourself. You're like, okay, whatever. But the visual of just, I'm gonna fist my own ass. How about that? Would you like that?
Would you like to see that?
Go fist.
It's almost the equivalent of there's a scene. Have you seen the movie Funny People? It's a Judd Apatow movie.
I don't remember if I did.
There's I don't.
Yes, then I have seen
there's
that.
a scene where Eminem, of all people, is at a bar with Seth Rogen's character in the film, and or no, wait, I think it's Eminem. I can't remember. Basically, Eminem's there, and Ray Romano is just staring at him, and you know, Eminem just kind of stands up, and he's like, "Do you want to fuck me, Ray? Do you want to fuck me? Is that what this is?" It's like, it's funny. Yeah. It's funny, and then he's like, "Oh, I thought everybody loved you." And he's like, "Oh, I thought so too." It's just funny to me. It's almost that same effect where it's like, Jesus Christ. I love it. I'll never stop using it now. If it gets some
No, it's the best for right now. It's like the in my opinion, it's like the Norton antivirus for NPCs. It just overloads people just during a conversation. They're just like, "What the fuck does that mean?"
It's like, "What? There's so much going on here." Yeah, it's so fucking intense. It's so intense. But that's what I love about Vinny and Hal, man, is because it is so intense sometimes in the moment, and I've always said that Vinny and Hal is what happens when you let the intrusive thoughts win. Except they don't really think about it as intrusive. That's the way they think. And I feel like a lot of characters in that universe think that way. And I don't know I don't know why they think that way, but I guess it doesn't matter at the end of the day, really. They're fictional fucking characters. That's why. But it's fun. It's fun to write for characters like that. I still need to. I would love to do a story with your character Randy. I feel like he needs some love. I feel like he's not had his moment to shine.
So should we explain Randy or the background of Randy to those who might not be familiar?
Yeah, that's right. That's
him?
right. I keep forgetting. Yeah. So in my film Late Fees, we have this Irish comedy club owner. He's a bar owner named Randy Higgins, and Randy himself is pretty fucking unhinged. But it's that is a cool fucking character that you brought to life, and it was one of the best things that we ever fucking shot on that film. It was the most fun that I had on those days were those days, because it was always fun, and I never knew what you were going to say.
I appreciate that. Well, I think it sometimes it's kind of like when you embrace a character, you let him take over. So I think that when I first reached out to you when you were midway through filming Late Fees, just to clarify, it's dark comedy about two video store clerks that are trying to save their store by basically turning into quasi hitmen or robbers and shaking people down to save the store. That's my log line that I give to people, for the project.
I'm pretty sure that's
and they love it.
The
It's
best
very
way.
well done.
Yeah, that's the best log line for it ever.
And so my character, while not being the main character necessarily, interacts with them throughout the story. But when I approached you about it, you hadn't cast him yet, and I think you were the one that brought up, maybe you can use your accent or use the Irish accent. I was more than happy to, because I hadn't really had a ton of usage of it.
What was the first film that you used
all I
that
had to do
accent
was just talk
on?
like this the entire time.
Well, there was a film that you used that on prior.
It was,
because I think that's where I found it, and I was like, oh, that's interesting.
It was Stealing Sunrise 2, Malibu Trail. I missed Stealing Sunrise 1, but Stealing Sunrise 2, I played just this Irish hacker character, and it's like the 1990s at this point. So still kind of within the realm of playing a 90s Irish person. But yeah, so I used the accent for the first time in that film. And then when you came along and I was able to get involved with Late Fees, we were able to play it out and get to feel it out. And I do agree with you. I think that there is something to that character having their own standalone story. I've always, for those who don't know, he's Irish. Obviously, he grew up in the time of the Irish Troubles, which is the late 60s to the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
And he's involved with the IRA, and so we kind of he's just part of the story. But I do think that there's lore to be explored there if we ever chose to do a Randy short, and I'd be more than happy to start speaking the entire film.
Yeah, man.
And the crazy expressions and stories that I got to share about my own cousin Patty and the sheeps and all these different things that are associated with that.
Cousin Patty's got some interesting stories, let me tell you that, especially about the sheep.
Exactly, yeah.
There's something. Yeah, man, it's I always I'm excited for people to actually see that film soon, and I'm really excited for you to to get some love for that role. Because I think it's fucking awesome, and honestly, I think it's still kind of the show. It's one of the things that people compliment the film on the most, who have been lucky enough to see it. So,
well, I've enjoyed giving enough private screenings of it.
Yeah. There's been some private screenings.
You know, it's it's kind of cool. Look, you got to use what you can. And I'm not saying I got into acting just to score.
Yeah.
But it is fun. It's nice to have something and be like, oh, would you like to see this film that I was in? Date? You know, like the girl I might be on a date with. Like, would you like to come and see
woman
this,
of European
this film?
descent?
And most European.
It's always, it seems that way. Yeah, man. No, I'm excited though. It's gonna be a good day whenever we can give that character the love he deserves. But yeah, speaking of which, though, we're coming up pretty close on wrapping up Diary of a Body Snatcher right now, which is gonna be in a week from today, right? No, a week from tomorrow. Diary of a Body Snatcher is another project.
Today's Thursday.
Yeah, is it Thursday? Okay, so it's a week from today. Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking today was Wednesday. Yeah, Diary of a Body Snatcher is another one of those projects that follows the story of a young videographer who is kind of down on his luck in the film world, and he just keeps hitting dead end after dead end after dead end to eventually he stumbles across this very strange individual by the name of Gareth. No last name, just Gareth, who has ties to the black market and this underground seedy world of everything and the remnants of what's been going on in the Ukraine and all types of stuff. And he wants Bishop, the main protagonist, to follow him around with a camera and document tutorials on how to rob graves. And I think that's just so fucking fun and so cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really neat.
It's an amazing character. I like the idea that's his retirement plan. That's the villain's retirement. Fucking IRA. I'm gonna make and the different IRA, the individual retirement account. I don't need your Vanguard or Fidelity account.
Yeah.
Fucking raw. I'm gonna make these tutorials, and that's my retirement plan.
Yeah, which is really cool because his whole thing is
I think when you.
His whole thing is just basically it's the American dream that was sold to him, but it's not the American dream as America would have it. That's always the best way that I've put it. That's what his story arc is. But he's going for what was sold to him, not the other way around. Not what they're offering.
I've always liked that character because I feel it's a really compelling anti-hero. And I think when you first approached me about Diary, because originally it was a feature, we have now kind of condensed it to a much more practical short. Yep. But I like it. It's still, ladies and gentlemen, is still the premier film featuring the Russian-Ukraine war as the starter event. Yes. No other film has done that yet.
No film has. No, not that I'm aware of. Not that, to my knowledge.
It uses that as a primer for the background.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of like how Lebowski had the first Gulf War as like the background of the Big Lebowski. It was something that was in the world that they were in.
Yeah.
But I loved the character. You approached me and sent me the script just kind of even to look at. I don't think you were even intending on shooting it, but it was just the script itself. And you were thinking, oh, maybe Bishop would be an interesting character. I said, nah, I don't want to play the main character. I want to play this
guy. It's like, oh,
and I've enjoyed the hell out of it. It's probably been one of my favorite characters I've ever played. It's given me a chance to experiment with wild hair changes. I was blonde for a portion of the film. Outfit changes. I dress up in various costumes of various ethnic origins. We're gonna probably on Thursday wear some wild T-shirts that are suggestive of things that are offensive, but it's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah, no, agreed. yeah, come to our Instagram pages to see those T-shirts, because we'll probably post them that night. Actually, the night this episode goes up.
Oh yeah.
Will be the same day, so you'll get to see those T-shirts we're talking about. That's kind of fucking funny. Yeah, man, it's really cool. I love Diary, but it's one of those films that, like, yeah, I didn't want to shoot it because it was coming out of we just finished late fees. I was going through a rut, and I was like, fuck, what do I want to do next? Do I want to do something big and extravagant? I did. But at the same time, I was kind of afraid to do it. So we tried to turn this into a feature, because there is 19 page screenplay of this, but we condensed it down to 30 pages to make it more affordable. And I'd say it'll probably range to be about a 30-minute short, right? Maybe, give or take, I'd say.
Oh yeah, pretty good.
But yeah, man, it's a very interesting project.
I just want to take a second, and maybe this is the part of the pod that's unscripted, which it is, because it's totally unscripted. We have show notes that we think about topics, but most of our episode, well, we only have one episode, but I think the majority of our conversations are primarily surrounding are basically off the cuff. And I wanted to say, like, from my perspective, one of the reasons I've gravitated towards working with you, Chad, and certain other filmmakers is because it's the stories are so unique. Whereas now here comes the volley of the attack. So much bullshit is made in this state that we've seen. Fuck them. They don't have.
I really don't give a shit. It's fine. If you want to come at us, come at us. I don't care.
I know.
Come at me with your fucking drone.
So many people. Well, that's the thing. So many people in the Phoenix film scene, and even in any state has this. But I think we can only speak from being in Phoenix, and somewhat by proxy, we're somewhat connected to Southern California in a way, because there's a lot of indie filmmakers there. But they're making bullshit. They make the same thing. The same movie is made, and I've gone to many of these independent film festivals, and it's the same thing about drone shot of the city of Phoenix, or just a random B-roll of a major city. Yeah. Everyone loves to take a street shot of the street camera. Flash to guy coming home realizing his family has been murdered. Flash to a sexy woman cop. Okay. Flash to him talking to himself in the kitchen with that lovely tin can echo of partial to Phoenix homes with you know what I mean, the stucco stuff. Yeah, it sounds like you're in a tin can.
Yeah. The beige white wall.
So flash to this maybe. Right, and it's nonstop jump cuts to all these different things. Sitting on a couch, 2-shot, having a dramatic conversation, running after a guy. Cinematic fade to black title of the bullshit film.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I don't get anything from
and
that.
You have all these people at these. Right, no, and then all these people are just jerking each other off about how great their fucking projects are, and it's bullshit. It's complete horse shit, and no one has the balls to say, hey, maybe go back to the drawing board and learn to write.
Yeah, you unhinged. No.
Chose violence.
He chose violence. But you're right, though, and that is unfortunately a thing out here. And again, it could be, like you said, in proxy to other places. Like I said before on one of our previous episode, I've only worked in 2 places in the film community, here and in Virginia. And in Virginia, the film community is more or less just non-fucking existent. So there's nothing there. And here, what little bit of the film community that does exist is just completely enthralled with that I just jerking each other off, praising these projects that are, for lack of a better term, just shit. And no, that's the thing is, there's not all of them are bad. There are some good projects out here. So I don't want it to sound like I'm just shitting on everything. There are some really good projects out here. However, the bad outweighs the good. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but goddamn, I don't understand like why everybody wants to be. And we've talked about this. Why do you want to be the next Christopher Nolan? Why don't you just want to be the first you?
Right.
Like why don't you want to be the first you? Why don't you want to do something that's, fun? Like why stifle yourself? Why put yourself in a box? You know, write the things that you want. Maybe this is the stuff that they want. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But it just seems boring to me. It's like there's nothing unique. There's nothing that stands out.
I would say, and this is like maybe the spiritual part of the show, in the Bhagavad Gita says that a life imperfectly lived for yourself is better than a life perfectly copying someone else.
Yeah.
But everyone is trying to emulate or be the exact copy, as you said, of Christopher Nolan from Wish or a low budget, whatever. And it's not, it doesn't work. And it's always, there's no greater message. There's no theme. Oftentimes it's just a movie that's meant to cinematically highlight the actors or actresses that maybe you felt indebted to or owed you a favor, and then now you can make something for their reel that they are so proud of, which makes absolutely no sense in continuity, because half the movies aren't even, a lot of shit filmed out here, they don't even give a shit about continuity. I can point to several projects where they say, oh yeah, we're going to dinner now, or we're going to breakfast, and it's fucking nighttime outside when they have the scene, and yeah, whatever. I mean, if you appreciate it from that perspective, it's hilarious. It's a phenomenal film scene to laugh and enjoy and get your jollies.
Yeah.
But it's not. It doesn't feel like real film.
No, it feels very cookie cutter. There's like it's just very default setting. And one of the things, and I can't remember who this was that told me, I really can't remember. This was back when I was first doing Late Fees. Somebody had watched one of the trailers to Late Fees, and they're like, it's too dark. It's too dark. And it's like, really? I'd rather have it too dark instead of having it just washed out fucking gray. Just that black magic ProRes gray. No thanks. Flood it with darkness. Don't be afraid. Embrace the darkness. Embrace it, man. That's what I was taught, is to embrace certain colors, because you know what? We don't have multi-million-dollar set designs. So if somebody's not seeing something in the back, that's fucking fine. As long as my talent stands out and as long as there's some kind of neat lighting effect going on there, I don't have to worry about what's in the fucking back. You know, I can just shallow that bitch out. Mm-hmm. And you know, I guess that's what I'm saying, is like there's so much repetition that comes with this stuff, because people think that there's a certain way that you have to do things, when in reality that defeats the purpose of making a film. There are no rules. Why does there have to be rules? Mm-hmm. And if there are any rules, if you know the rules, then fuck it, you can break them because you know them. I don't know. I just think that everybody's become a bunch of pussies with it. That's my 2 cents.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it was also because I saw, we referenced Quentin Tarantino last time, and I think I saw something on Instagram Reel, because your phone just listens to you while you apparently talk about stuff.
Happens.
And I got a reel where he was saying how, and this is true though, if you know, what is the movie that has not been made that you can think of?
Yeah.
Make that movie.
Make that movie.
And so, to your credit, everything you've made has not been made before. I mean, no one makes shit about like body snatching and grave robbing. But everybody is making movies about like a crime, and then trying to solve the crime, and then the vengeance, a story of vengeance. Like, what is that? Yeah. What is that? Bullshit.
Yeah. And you know, I think I fell victim to that mindset for a brief stint, because again, I keep referencing Late Fees, but it's the one story that I've worked on the most, because there's like 50 fucking drafts of that story. Mm-hmm. I felt like there was a point where I almost made it more crime driven by putting a detective in the story and all this shit. And it was because I thought maybe that's what my actors wanted, because a lot of my actors at the time were hitting me back up with notes saying, oh, I like it, but it's missing this element, or it's missing that element. And truth be told, they were wrong. It doesn't need a detective. It doesn't need any of that stuff, because, you know, not everything has to have like an explanation. Some of the best movies you ever watch has, you know, like I watched a movie last night called Boy Kills World. Fucking phenomenal. And it does such a good job of just giving you the meat and potatoes of the story without having to focus on where they live, what caused their world to fall into chaos. They just give you a little bit about it. They're like, here's a little bit of what's going on. Don't worry how we got there, but here's what's going on. And you buy it. You buy it because it just fucking works. Because the premise is so good that you don't care. You don't care about how you got there. That's all.
I liked that. I feel like I saw a similar experience, or I had a similar experience when I watched Civil War recently. They give you, they don't, and I liked what they did with it. A24 made it very apolitical, so you don't really, it doesn't seem very obvious. Like, anybody on the right could think it's about the left, everybody on the left could think it's about the right. It's not really about the underlying causes of what the Civil War is. It's more so about, sorry if there's a dog, but it's more so about the journalist's story, like a journalist trying to get across the wasteland and trying to get to Washington, D.C.
Yeah. And that's cool. That's really cool because I had heard a lot of people had said that there's no right or left with Civil War. They keep saying that it's very neutral. It's a very neutral film, and you can walk out of that theater. It doesn't matter if you walk in with a MAGA hat or if you walk in with what the fuck ever is going on the other side. I don't know. I'm not a political person. But whatever you walk out with, you're going to take away your own interpretation of that film. That's cool. And I've never been big on A24, and that's not a secret. I like some of their movies, but I don't like a lot of their movies. But that's one that I think I want to check out in time.
It was surprisingly good. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, no, their track record for me has been... A24, they're a very strange company. When they first got started, I was behind them all the way. I thought that they were the future, and that was true. They are basically the future, but I guess I was expecting a lot more from what they are, or what they were to what they became. Because the first movie I watched by them was Tusk. And then I think right after that, maybe Witch came out, I believe. I don't recall if it was The Witch or whatever. Basically, it just went a completely different direction, and I don't know. And then you get Spectre Vision, who's out here making shit like The Greasy Strangler, and which is a weird fucking movie if you've never seen The Greasy Strangler.
We should, I think we should do an episode about the weirdest, because I think last year was a very introspective year for me, and we talked about it, and it was the year of the movie, and I watched probably about 150 titles. And I'm not saying we have to do it just of that year, but we should probably pick our top 5 and just talk about, these are the weirdest movies and this is why they impacted me. This is why they made me think. Because sometimes it's a good thing to watch a weird movie.
Yeah. Even if
other times it's just more of a spectacle.
Yeah, even if the movie sucks, I think you should give some things a watch, because you never know how it's going to inspire you. Really, at the end of the day, it could. There could be a seedling of inspiration in there that turns into your next big thing. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, that's a good idea. We should probably do that sometime. That should be an episode. I like that. A few more things I wanted to talk about on my notes over here. One of those things, I have Lost Media listed. And I know we briefly touched upon Lost Media on the last episode, sort of, more in the music demographic. What exactly... you had sent me a thing. You sent me a link talking about some Lost Media. And there's a song, correct? That's finally been discovered as to where it came from.
Yeah, I mean, I don't exactly. I don't think know if the song has a name, but it was like this. It was going around on those 80s influencer pages of this kind of unique, somewhat haunting pop sound from the 1980s. Clearly an 80s song. Only 30 seconds of this audio existed, And then it caused kind of a media or sub-media sensation with all these people recognizing, just faintly recognizing, and then they used like similar chords to a lot of 80s songs, so I think a lot of people could have extrapolated that. But it turned out that this song so many people on these 80s pages were referencing was literally from a porno from the 1980s called Angels of Passion. Angels of Passions, I think it were. Angels of Passion. And it was, I think, and literally I did not bother trying to find it. Someone put in the comments section, you can timestamp it at 1 hour and 7 minutes in. That's when this mysterious, haunting 80s melody that has been taking over so many different people's attention spans for the past month, you can hear it there. So it was definitely recorded because it was so interesting, because it was kind of one of those collective memory things, because people were thinking, oh, it sounds so familiar. Was this in the mall? And it sounds like something you could have heard in an 80s mall or in an elevator or something along those lines. But no, in fact, when someone did the deep diving, or maybe they used AI, I don't know, but they found that it was actually a soundtrack to a porn.
That is interesting. It's kind of wild, like when you really think about it, because a lot of people were thinking that there's like these subreddits that are dedicated strictly to lost media, which would be another fun episode to dive into. But a lot of people were saying that it was just this mysterious track that was only played on the radio once ever, and then was never played again. And I mean, I could see where the song, it is a catchy song, I don't know the name of the song, but it's very bubblegum, very,
I think it's called Ulterior Motives. I had to just look it up, and I'm sorry, it doesn't start an hour and 7 minutes. It's 1 minute 7 seconds in. That's when it starts.
Will's got the video queued up, ready to go. It's no, but I don't know. I think it's really interesting how those things kind of happen, and it goes to show you never know. You never know where a lot of this stuff comes from. But yeah, lost media people. The stuff is being discovered. It's being found. So I wonder what else is out there that is completely shrouded in mystery that we just don't know. Like I have memories of a few things that I'm just like, I don't know if that was a dream or if that was something that actually happened.
Mandela effect,
maybe. Some Mandela effect stuff, and it's very weird. My last little bit of notes here. Well, I wanted to talk to you about this. You are a very avid reader. You probably read more than anyone that I know personally.
Well, thank you.
And I was just curious. So this is something that I struggled with, because I enjoy reading. I do. But I find myself, anytime that I'm reading a book, I have this urge, and this can be said about the same thing about video games or TV or even watching another movie. Consuming versus creating. And I know this is a very broad topic, but do you find yourself as an avid reader struggling with that desire of consuming versus creating?
Never when I'm reading. And the reason is, I feel that when I'm ingesting or consuming literature, it helps stoke fires of inspiration. And honestly, like, it allows me to have an insight. Reading is so different. It's a different kind of media, because you're getting a kind of like an ontological, use that word, like an experience basically where you get to question yourself and be outside of yourself and in the perspective of someone else, more than viewing it on a screen or hearing it. That's why there's always been this big debate about audiobooks versus reading. I do think audiobooks are the inferior form of consuming media. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with audiobooks, but it's a completely different sensory experience, because when you're reading, it's, the movie's taking place in your head. And I think what I've noticed is, as I've read, so I started reading a lot more last year. I've always read throughout my life, but I wanted to devote specifically, I knew that I had a kind of a phone addiction happening a little bit, and that's where I feel the most like an asshole or a piece of shit. I'm like, fuck, this has been 2 hours and I've just gone through these so many 30-second reels of bullshit on Instagram. That's when I start to feel bad. But when I'm reading, there's something meditative about it, and also ideas flow better to me. And as I've set aside time to write, what I'm reading at the time often is a source of inspiration for me, or it will kickstart an idea that's derivative of what I'm reading, thinking, oh, well, this is a cool world. What if there was something similar in this world, but these characters exist now? And so now you're actually getting creative inspiration, as opposed to just hopping on a trend like with Instagram, because I've also participated in Instagram Reels and I've made stuff, and those can be fun and interesting and get a conversation going, but a lot of times they're incredibly just carbon copies of the same trend, especially TikTok dances. We've seen this permeate the culture. So from my perspective, it does take a little effort, but once you get in a groove of reading, and typically I like to do it either in the evening, before bed, shut my phone off and start reading. It does help me. It helps to, and some of our future content, I think, will be inspired by some works of literature that we've talked about before, and some of the authors we've discussed, and we can always have an episode on that too, of what books or pieces of literature have helped inform our experience. But no, I think for me it serves more as creative inspiration.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting way to look at it. I think for me, I have a hard time shutting my brain off sometimes, and because the world, let's be real, the world is louder now than it ever has been. You can't look anywhere other than, unless you have some form of sensory deprivation room. You can't look anywhere without the glow of a blue screen in your face. You can't even get in your car without the glow of a blue screen in your face nowadays. And it's kind of it's very wild to me that the world is so loud, and it's almost reminiscent of the movie They Live, where they put on the glasses, but when they take them off, they have like kind of a headache. It's when I feel like when you get away from the blue screen, when you get away from all the technology and you try to go into something like a book, you almost have this subconscious gnawing to either one.
Withdrawal.
Yeah, it's like it's withdrawal. You want to either go back because you're addicted to it, or maybe it's just pure exhaustion. Like there is an exhausting element about being away from it, because it's almost like your brain and your body is trying to heal itself. And I think that's a thing. And the world is also so full of FOMO, man. Just people, the fear of missing out. It's so bad. I'm guilty of it. I can't tell you how many times I've like talked down to myself subconsciously and beat myself up because something isn't going my way, because it's going Joe Blow's way instead. You just can't do that though. I don't know. I think that
Right.
I think that it's cool that you're able to find an escape in a book, and there's something classic about that, which is really cool.
Oh, I appreciate that. I mean, yeah, I like to. So those who don't know, I have a book Instagram called actors_reading_writers, actors reading writers, and I definitely ripped that off, that screen name off from a event that used to be hosted here in Arizona, called Actors Reading Writers, and it was a local event where local writers would have their scripts submitted, and local actors would come in and perform it on stage. They would just do a script reading just to see how the script flows, and then the writers could critique each other and how well it flowed. It was a fun event. It was great for networking. I don't know if they still do it. I don't think they do. But I thought it was a great Instagram handle, so I took that. And my thing is mostly I read a lot of books, and I will give a review about how I feel about the book, but also if it would be worth making some kind of film about it, and how it would translate in the film world as a writer / actor. How have I ever been in something like this, or could it be equivalent to something that's already out there? And some of the books, like one of the ones I have on my shelf is The Road by Cormac McCarthy. That's already been made a movie. I just never watched the movie.
It's a really good movie.
Never read the book either.
It's actually have you heard of The Last of Us, the video game? Not the show, but the video game.
Yeah.
So the video game was heavily inspired by that, The Road.
Right. That's art.
Yeah.
It's derivative of
Yeah.
something. Inspires something.
It's very good. Both the movie is great. I've not read the book. I would love to read the book. The game was amazing. The show can go fuck itself. I don't really care. But it's one of those things like, no, I think that's really cool. I think, well, Infinite Jest is one of those things that we've talked about a lot.
That was the book.
Yeah, and
Right.
yeah, that's
That
gigantic.
book has probably been my biggest. That book I would say is I get the hype now, because that, a lot of times there was the stereotype of the literature bro that likes Infinite Jest, and there's certain books people say that they read just to have said that they read it, because it is about 1,100 pages. But if you read that book, that had a profound effect on me, and I read that this year, and it was incredibly good. It's not an easy book to read, but it was very profound, and highly recommended to anybody who maybe feels somewhat lost or trying to figure out what's happening in modern society. Because the book was written in the 90s, it takes place in 2007, but it was eerily prophetic in many ways about themes of addiction and entertainment.
It's almost like a weird predecessor to Idiocracy within itself.
Oh, exactly, 100%.
Which is
100%.
So that's kind of strange. It does make you question if Mike Judge, if he read that book to get inspiration for Idiocracy, but
I would bet many he did.
he probably did. I mean, I've not seen anything where he's mentioned it, but I mean, come on. I don't know, but yeah. Well, I mean, that about wraps up our show for the day. I guess we should probably stop talking before we get ourselves in trouble with the film community. No, I'm just kidding. Be sure to give us a follow over on Instagram. Be sure to go to our YouTube channel. We will be having the video versions of these episodes up over there very shortly. I apologize for any delays or any wonky editing. There's been something going on with our internet connection here in the last little bit. It's happened on my other podcast. It's happening here. Don't know what it is, but I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. But I'll give you the best episode that I can humanly possibly edit together. Be sure to give us a listen over on Spotify. We have new episodes that drop every single Wednesday. And remember, keep it unhinged out there, people.